Earlier you've told us a story about your child natural ability of being entrepreneur, and that it started at age 8. But how about you? Can you tell us something? When did you discover that you've got something in you that you want to do? Before your professional career.
Thank you for asking that. Yes, my parents were in business. They owned multiple businesses. My mother as well as my father. And so the process of what was involved in that, the good, the bad, the ugly, I experienced it all from, really the time I could remember. And so my father's business in particular had to do with cosmetics. And so every Saturday morning, really, of my life, we all had to go in the basement and put the labels on these bottles, which it sounds easy. It was not easy at the time because this is not. Yes, that's right. Well, he did manufacture it, yes, but we had to actually affix the labels, and this is before regular adhesive that you would know now. So we had to have a roller with water, and then put the label there, and then place it perfectly. Because if you mess it up, it'll be crooked. So. Yeah, I've spent a great deal of time in that business as well. And I did like it. There was some excitement in it. And when he had a distributor, and when the lady came to collect all the products, and then she was going to go and sell them, around, it was exciting. So I had a very positive impression about business always.
Okay, but aren't you tired because you from a little child? You always have something in common with business, but aren't you tired after all those years spending in this industry?
Oh no, I never get tired because of the excitement. You never know if it's a good idea. It could work or it may fail. So there's always a question mark. And when you think about how to live life, don't we live for excitement? We want to thrive, right? So where's the opportunity to thrive in life? In life in general. Well, business is one way because of the possibilities. So there are endless possibilities in business. They're not endless possibilities physically. Like I can't go now and climb Mount Everest, but I could climb it, so to speak, in business if I'm lucky. Yeah.
Okay, do you think it's better to start business in Poland, where the ecosystem but also the market isn't so developed as the US, or try to increase the scale and go somewhere where there's more money to spend but also more competition?
I think it's very important to understand the ecosystem that you're trying to operate in, whether that's your own in your domestic market or or somewhere else in someone else's a foreign market. And so the ability to understand that at the level of depth that is required to think that you have a good plan and a good strategy going forward, that's enabled by the amount of information that I could access. So one thing is, I actually don't speak Polish. And so to what extent would I consider that a barrier is a question in terms of not just speaking with people, but do I have to access written materials? I see that the level of English spoken here is very high, so I don't automatically think that's a barrier, but I don't know to what extent I would have to read it to feel well informed. I set up actually my first business in Hong Kong, not in America, and I don't read Chinese either. But I did know institutions there. I had lived there 5 years before I started my business. So I felt like I knew how to operate there. So there are many ways that you have as opportunities to become familiar with a country and to assure yourself to the extent possible that you know how to operate there. And that is one way is by having a partner who knew. So what is the chance that I could have, for instance, a Polish partner that I could partner with who would give me insights? Or without a partner, to what extent could I come to learn where the opportunities are here? And not just the opportunities, the competition. That's the main thing. As well as the laws and regulations. So let's say I am a foreign business, so what can I access or fail to access that would give me a comparative advantage or not, or at least not impose a barrier. So I'm looking for environments where there's no barriers, where I can understand what's going on, where I have a prospect of partnership, and of course a big market opportunity, meaning that I have some understanding or belief that what I'm selling, you would be buying.
Yeah, sure. That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Right.
When there's no buyers, there's no
there's no
there's no selling.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, so two more questions. But what is the factor that makes normal startup and unicorn, in your opinion?
Well, I think right now we're experiencing the fastest growth among those disruptive businesses that are process oriented. Now, what I mean by that is you take Uber, okay? Uber did not create the taxi business.
Yeah.
The taxi business has been available for, I would guess, hundreds of years. But the process that they changed, some little aspect of it, a number of aspects of it, you could say, harness technology to allow them to deliver that service better. So Uber doesn't own, any cars. And then it comes to, then you can look at a company like Amazon. It's also a process business. It has a better process for selling and buying. Okay, they're not creating the products. The same as Alibaba in China, right? It's a mechanism that improves a process. So the more we can understand about processes in order to identify the opportunity to make those processes better or more efficient, that's probably the biggest market opportunity. Now there are always opportunities for those special geniuses out there that can create something new from scratch. Some new technology, a new product, but that's infinitely harder than actually looking at things that exist already and saying, how can I make that business better? So if we look at different industries, even education, when we think about some of the disruptions in education, it's process as well. Look at the Khan Academy, for instance. They have figured out how to present the learning experience in a different way, and they've used technology to make that available through different mechanisms. So I think as long as we're open to change and we understand the process of really problem solving, because every opportunity is in fact a problem that needs to be solved. So we have to look at every part of it to say, how can we make this better? And so on a personal level, to stay receptive to change in everything I'm doing, I'm trying to do everything a different way. I try to rearrange the furniture in my house. So I don't get stale, okay? Even on this trip, I actually used a different suitcase. I do everything differently to try to demonstrate to myself that I'm thinking, I'm adaptable to change, I'm looking around myself to see where there's opportunities, and I can say to my young son, who's now 11, okay, son, let's sit down and let's look at everything that we're doing. Okay, let's look at your room. Can we rearrange that to create any efficiencies in there? Can we look at any part of this house or anything that we're doing in order to make it better? So I'm designing my son as a thinker for change. And every time he thinks something new, he says, hey, Mom, guess what? I think that we can, do this a little better. And I just love it.
What would you say to Polish students who have an amazing ideas to start a business but don't know where to start? What are the two most important qualities to become a good entrepreneur?
Okay, so the entrepreneur thinks it's a good idea, and the question then is who else may think that? But who else may think it who may know something about it? Not just the general person, right? And I told you about the biggest failure in Silicon Valley, right? So that person thought they had a good idea, and other people thought it, but they didn't know what they were talking about. So it's good to try to find some informed people who can assess the merits of that, and you don't have to give everything away, but who are in that arena and who can give you good advice. Then I think the next step would be to try out different pitches to those that might be able to help you in some way that you need help. That help may be money, in which case you might try to identify some angel investors or other potential investors and just try out the idea to see, number one, have you even articulated it clearly? Do you have enough data to have them think that you know about the magnitude of that idea? And about the competition for it, because these are the things that they will want to know right away. So you have to have enough information that you research to say, okay, here is why I think this is a good idea. And you have to be able to very quickly demonstrate that you can articulate why you think this is good, and see the reaction of others.